If you're trying to find an opportunity in marine science and conservation, whether it be a job, whether it be a PhD opportunity, whether it be a postdoc opportunity or a master's opportunity, it doesn't matter. When you're looking for some type of opportunity that's going to benefit your career in this field of marine science and conservation, you're going to want to listen to this episode because I have had some thoughts about finding jobs and what to do and how to really be able to describe yourself in a cover letter or an email to a professor that you want as a supervisor for your graduate work. And I feel like knowing a little bit of how to market yourself is a great way to get your foot in the door. And we're going to talk about that on today's episode of the How to Protect the Ocean podcast. Let's start the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of the How to Protect the Ocean podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Lewin, and this is the podcast where you find out what's happening with the ocean, how you can speak up for the ocean, what you can do to live for a better ocean by taking action. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about taking action because we're looking for ways to get opportunities in marine science and conservation. That could be a number of different ways. That could be an internship, a volunteership, which I'm not a huge fan of volunteerships, but if you have to do it, you have to do it. Graduate work, a job itself where you get paid a full-time salary, consulting work, all that kind of stuff. And there's one common thing that we don't really talk about when we are trying to figure out how to get those opportunities. That is to market yourself. That is to catch people's attention. And it really kind of got to me when I was listening to a video podcast from Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary Vaynerchuk, people know him online as Gary V, is an internet marketing guru, I guess you would call him. Yeah, he's the legitimate real deal. He started a YouTube channel back in the day on a wine, I think it's called Wine Library, where he basically, like when YouTube first came out, he leveraged that platform and started talking about wine to help sell wine from his dad's wine store, a liquor store. And it kind of blew up eventually, and since then he's been on a book writing bonanza. He's had probably 7 or 8 books, maybe more. His most recent book is Day Trading Attention, and it really caught my eye. But his talking about is like attention is the way to get opportunities. Whether you're trying to sell a product, whether you're trying to sell a service, whether you're trying to sell yourself to get a job or anything. Trying to get someone's attention in today's information overload system is very difficult. It's more difficult than it was in the past. And we are going to talk about what I think you need to do and what marketing skills will help to get the attention of that person that you want to get an opportunity from, or you want to, get that job, get that internship, get that graduate work, whatever that might be. And we're going to talk about that today. I'm pretty excited about this. I've been thinking about this for a little while now, and I'm kind of going off the cuff a little bit, but it's something I think is really good. But speaking of attention, if you want to get attention, drawn to ocean news, you need to have ocean news. And sometimes you need to know about all the different articles, and sometimes it's difficult to go out and get those articles and find them all the time because you have time. You have time to do other things. You have other priorities sometimes. You have to go grocery shopping. You have to take a bus or commute to work, or you have to drive to work, and you can't always dedicate that time. You got to spend time with your family, with your partner, with your dogs, your pets, and so forth. And sometimes you don't just have time, but wouldn't it be great if you just got an email from me every Monday to Friday to say, hey, this is what's happening in ocean conservation. You should take a quick look at this. Links to the articles, links to job opportunities and graduate opportunities and internship opportunities. And then, of course, we kind of let you know what's happening with the latest podcast that was published. Because sometimes, hey, look, you get busy. I get it. You may not listen to this podcast every 3 days or every 2 days when I publish them Monday, Wednesday to Friday. I get that. So all you have to do is just be like, hey, you know what? Every once in a while, I'm going to read a little brief description of the podcast, and I'm going to listen to it right on my email if I need to, or I'm going to go to the podcast app, my favorite podcast app, and I'm going to listen to it on there. There's so many ways that you can get up to date on that, but the biggest thing is to get that newsletter coming to you each and every Monday to Friday. So weekdays, you get it at 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern, and you get access to that email. So why don't you go over and go to speakupforblue.com/newsletter. speakupforblue.com/newsletter. Sign up today. It's free to sign up. It's free to get in your inbox. And it's probably the best thing you're going to get, especially if you're interested in ocean conservation. So check that out. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Now, I want you to go back about 30 seconds, 40 seconds, maybe a minute. And I want you to listen to that over again. I've never sold a newsletter like that before. And I want you to listen to how I did that. I made that a benefit to you, not begging for you to sign up for my newsletter because I want attention. I made it a benefit for you, right? I made it to say, hey, you probably don't have time. You're busy. You probably don't have time to sign up for or you probably don't have time to look around for all the different things on ocean conservation. You got work to do. You got family to be with, a partner to be with, pets to be with. You got things to do. You got to go work out. Do yoga, Pilates, whatever that might be. Maybe go for a run. Maybe do some sort of team activity, hockey, baseball, football, European football, American football, whatever that might be. You might be part of a team, frisbee golf, all that kind of stuff, right? You might be busy. I made it look like, hey, you're busy. It's hard for you to go around and search. You just don't have the time to think about it all the time, right? Maybe you're searching for the next vacation. Maybe you're searching for an apartment, a house, whatever that might be. But you're busy doing other things. So the benefit to you is if you want to know more about oceans, you get this newsletter every weekday, 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern, in your inbox. So you don't have to go searching for it. You just have to look at it, briefly look at the articles, and boom, you're up to date. Really easy, convenient for you. I'm making it about you. Not about me that, hey, I'm spending, an hour, half hour, an hour each and every day putting this newsletter together. No. It's not about me. This is about you because I'm trying to provide a service for you. You came to this podcast because you want to know how to protect the ocean, right? I'm telling you how to protect the ocean, not only on this podcast, but I'm giving you an opportunity to come back to the podcast and remind you that, hey, I got a podcast out Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and this is what this one is about on Friday, like it is today. Right? So I'm offering the benefit to you. Now, I'm not just trying to say this and go over this to say, hey, you are going to benefit and get so much value from this newsletter. I think you will, and that's how I'm proposing it. But I want you to think about how I'm proposing it. I want you to think about what that does when you start to propose the value that you bring to an opportunity, whether it be graduate work, whether it be an internship, whether it be a full-time job, part-time job, consultancy. You have to start crafting the benefit, the value-added service that you provide if they decide to provide you with the opportunity, right? Grant you the opportunity. You have to start to catch their attention. Right off the bat, I'm like, hey, I know it's busy, to find all these articles on ocean conservation, but you can trust me to put that together and send it to you each and every Monday to Friday, right? That's the benefit. That's what we do, and that's how I want to sell it to you. I want to show you the value of what you need to do when you go for it. When you use my newsletter. It's free. All you have to do is, put your email in. It's easy to do. You don't have to do anything other than read the articles quickly. Even just read the headlines if you have to, right? But I offer you that type of service. And so that's how I'm selling it. Now, think about how to sell yourself for a job. Now, you're not going to go put this and be like, hey, look, you're busy. You don't want to look through 400 candidates. I'm the candidate from you. No, that's not the way you sell yourself for a job or an internship or a graduate student type of work. But what you want to do is you want to catch their attention. If you're trying to catch a professor's attention as a supervisor, you're not going to just talk about yourself. You're not going to send a big, long email. They're busy. We know they're busy. So your email is going to be short. Each paragraph, if you do a couple paragraphs, it's going to be like 2 to 3 sentences. That's it. It's going to be short. It's going to be eye-catching and catching attention. Could be, hey, just read your paper on such and such, and I got really interested, and I see that this line of research is one of your focuses for your research. I'm looking to do the same thing for my PhD. I think I can provide, that hardworking attitude and learning, and I'm very passionate about this. I have a history of doing research on this. Would you be interested in taking me on as a student, as a graduate student? Right? Especially here in America and Canada, when you start to search out for a supervisor, when you're doing graduate work, you want to look for that supervisor. So you almost have to go to them first. You have to make sure you look at the university's credentials to get in. I know the US does the GRE. I don't know if that's still a thing, but they use the GRE. In Canada, it's less of that. You just look at your average. So if you go to their website, the university's website, and you see that you qualify for the basic qualifications, then you can say, okay, I qualify. You can send that email just like, hey, really interested in that study you did on such and such and such and such. And I read the paper and I kind of dove into your research. I'm very interested in doing a master's, a PhD, a postdoc. Here are my credentials. Here's my resume if you want to read it over quickly. But I think I could be of real value to your lab because I've got this history. I've done this type of maybe methodology before. I'm looking to expand my knowledge in this subject matter and work with you to be able to expand, what type of research we're able to do. Love to discuss some ideas, funding, etc. Would you be open for a Zoom chat, or would you be open for me to come in and meet with you if you're local or something like that? Quick, easy. That's how fast it is, right? If you're at, you can do it in person. If you're at a conference, you get to know the person. Graduate supervisors, as long as you qualify, will work with you if they know that you can get along with them. So meeting them in person at a conference is even better. Now, I know a lot of us, we can't go to just every conference, and we may not be going to a conference based on whether another person is going or not going, but that might be a place to go if you want to find, someone, and so someone can get to know who you are, get to see your passion for that type of subject matter, and see maybe is there like that working relationship chemistry there where they can say, hey, you know what, I think we'd work well together. Would you be interested in being a student of mine? And then you're like, boom, I'm in. But when you're doing it from an email, it's a lot more difficult. They're busy. They get lots of emails from students, especially now. If you think about how big the internet is, now people can cast a worldwide net of who they can contact. So one, if you don't get to the junk mail folder, if you get out of the junk mail folder and get into that primary inbox, now you're like, okay, this is something I can get behind. Like all of a sudden, I'm starting to see these emails. Your subject line becomes like the biggest thing, right? A subject line is saying, hey, you gotta pop out. You gotta show them that you're about. Now, some people might be bold and be like, I'm the best graduate student you're ever gonna have. Probably not the best way of doing it, but that's gonna catch their eye. That's gonna catch their attention, right? You can also come up with something, maybe a funny pun or something like that if you know they like puns or whatever that might be, right? But get to know who you're emailing. Don't just mass email a bunch of people, serious emails. Try and get to their personalities. Try and find out any interviews they've done. Look them up on video if they've done any videos or any like interviews on like a news show or anything like that. If they're higher profile, if they've done any Shark Week shows or any kind of environmental show, or if you've seen them before, you know what they're like. Try and go to their personality. Try and hit their personality if your personality matches, or that you can get that. It's a little bit more bold, but you can try and hit that up. The other thing is just hit up your ideas. Hit up what you can bring as a student, or what your passion is for this subject matter and the research. You've got to catch their attention, and there's marketing skills to do that. You can go and start looking up what subject lines catch people's eyes. Now, a lot of them will be more towards business and selling, products, but you're trying to sell yourself here. So use that, adapt that knowledge once you find it to be like, hey, this could actually work. A headline or subject line can really catch somebody's attention and saying, I need to open this email. That's your first thing you need to do. If you're sending an email, you need to have that catchy sort of catchphrase to be like, hey, this person might be the person that I'm looking for this. And I wasn't even looking for a PhD student. Because a lot of times when people email supervisors, they may not be looking, they may have some funding in mind, or they may not have funding at all. You don't know. So try and find out what kind of funding they have, if they have funding, if they've been talking about getting graduate work or anything like that. But cold calling, just if maybe they have funding, maybe they don't, you're not getting likely chances. What I would do is sign up for listservs. If you're in marine mammalogy, the Marmon listserv would be great. Sea turtle with the letter C and turtle listserv would be really good as well. There's a plastic pollution listserv as well that's run through Octo, the marine, I think it's called the marine debris listserv. That's a good one as well. There's a number of different listservs that post opportunities. There's the coral reef listserv. That also has a bunch of opportunities, postdoc, graduate work, master's, PhD, all that kind of stuff. Go to where you see those advertisements and then email the professor that's doing that. Fill out an application or whatever that might be, whatever they ask you to do, send a resume or CV, and then go towards that route. I think that would be really helpful. Now, when you're trying to look for an opportunity for a job, you got to start looking at how to tailor your cover letter to that position. And it really depends on who the person is, what the organization or government department is like. Well, now, if this is government, I've talked about governments before. It's very cut and dry. It's very dry in what you're putting in. You're not trying to put too much personality. You're just trying to make it past the first round. So if you're doing your first application as a resume and cover letter, you follow the instructions. You make it as boring as possible. But what you do is you put in all the qualifications that you meet, and you put them in and put examples to show that you have that experience, you have that skill set and how you got it, right? You can put that in. When you're starting to apply to nonprofit organizations, they want to see a little something, right? A lot of times in nonprofit organizations, they have small staff. So small staff that can bring a large skill set can really help. Even if they're not asking for that skill set, you may want to mention it. But really the thing is the story that comes around it. And this was given to me a while ago. If I was looking for something, we talked about a colleague that was looking for work, but it was kind of like, middle-aged and looking for that type of work. And, what really caught my eye about this advice was like, hey, you may have been in and out of the game for a little bit. You may have had to go somewhere else to get some money. You may have to do whatever. But if you're going back to the game and you've been out of it for a little bit, or you've been in another type of field like academic or government, and you want to go to a nonprofit organization, you got to tell them why. Give a reason why. What part of your life, or at what point in your life did you decide at this point that this is the time you want to go to a nonprofit organization? Because there's a good chance, very good chance, that you're going to have a lower salary. But you may have these expectations, or you may have this mission to be like, hey, you know what? I want to start doing more advocacy work. I want to start doing more work that's going to pressure governments to change their policies, or that's going to work with government to change their policies. There's a lot of different reasons why you would go to a nonprofit organization. Tell them that reason why at this point of your life, whether you're young, middle-aged, older, you decided to apply to this organization that's a little bit different and that may be a little lower in pay. It may be a little harder for work hours and things like that, but you want to go because you really are in tune with their mission, right? So for instance, for me, if I were to apply as a campaigner, look, I haven't worked as a campaigner in a while, or I've never worked for an organization as a campaigner, so I may not have the qualifications or the experience that they may be first off demanding, but I do have a lot of experience in communication. So if I were to apply to a campaigner job, well, then I would tell them why. I would tell them, look, I'm in Canada, so if I'm applying for something in Canada, I'm applying for this job because I see that there may or may not be a change in the federal government coming up soon. And being a campaigner with the change in government and with another party that's coming in that may not be so environmentally friendly, it's important for me to work at an organization that is working to, put pressure or work with government to change their policies to be more environmentally friendly, climate friendly, and so forth. That's something that I would say if there was a job that would, putting that up there. That's how I would sort of, use that angle. And because it's the truth of why I would go to that kind of job, right? Communications jobs, the same thing. I've worked as communications on my own. I want to get experience working for communications with another organization. I've got a bunch of background on how to do digital communication, website design, all that kind of stuff. This is how I can help you out. This is where I can help you out, right? Here are my list of experiences and qualifications. So there's a lot of just different ways of actually producing content to match what people are looking for, but you got to tell that story. You got to have an interesting story. I remember helping a colleague of mine to put out, they were going for the NOS Fellowship. And this NOS Fellowship is a really important fellowship for early career scientists and conservationists. It helps them get experience within government and usually leads towards more governmental jobs in the future, and really at their choice depending on how well they do in the fellowship. Now, this is something that is very prestigious. Only a certain number of people per year get it. It's a very popular program, so a lot of people are putting it together, but they had to tell their story. And we worked on it, and I helped her, craft that story to tell them. And I remember telling that person, be like, just tell the story of what you were like, that story. She told me, that person told me, it's like, hey, this is how I got into this. This is where I got into it. I'm like, tell that story. That's the story that is going to sell this fellowship. This is going to get you that fellowship. And it helped. Now, whether it was that particular story that helped, I don't know. Regardless, that person was able to get that fellowship. And now that person is working for the government, has been for the last decade or so, and is doing an unbelievable job doing work as we thought they would be doing. And so I think that's important, right? Is to tell that story of where you are in your life, what got you into this kind of field, and where you want to go with your life, and how that place can help you get there. Whether it's going to be long-term or whether it's going to be short-term, how this place can help you get there. And that's where they're going to look for. That's what's going to catch people's attention. We're human. We love to tell stories. We love to listen to stories, and that's what we are looking for. And so when you're doing a job like that, that's what's captivating, or doing a story like that for any type of opportunity job, that's what brings it together. Want to be quick, want to be succinct, but that's what helps catch the person's attention, especially when you're looking for a job in a nonprofit organization. I hope this helps. I'd love to hear your feedback. If you've had to tell a story that you think worked to help you get your job, love to hear that. Hit me up on Instagram at How to Protect the Ocean. That's at How to Protect the Ocean. And of course, if you want to sign up for the newsletter and you want to make sure that your busy life is not going to be too busy for the ocean, you want that newsletter in your inbox Monday to Friday, all you have to do is go to speakupforbblue.com/newsletter and sign up. Put your email in. It's free. I never share the email. I never sell your email. I would never do that to you. Your trust is what I love, what I want, and what I want to provide to you is my trust. So, put that email in. We'll get you that information to your inbox. And that's it for today's episode of this podcast, this How to Protect the Ocean podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Lewin. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time, and happy conservation.